Happy Wednesday, UnWoke Nation, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 74 of the UnWoke Show, where free speech is welcome, all subjects are on the table, and your boys Rich and Tim bring you the latest and greatest information all over the world for your entertainment, baby. I'm your host, Rich, along with my co-host. How you doing, Timmy?
Oh, great, Rich, man. I'm glad to be back.
Awesome, man. Also, hey, I hope you really enjoyed a little bit of your Labor Day and also taking a little bit of relaxation out there.
Absolutely, man. You know, I hope UnWoke Nation, we hope you guys had a great Labor Day weekend and everything. And guys, we just wanted to do a little housekeeping here. You know, we've been getting a lot of great feedback from you, the listener, UnWoke Nation. Keep the feedback coming. But guys, you can find us on all your favorite podcasting platforms. We're on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Listen Notes, Podchaser, Good Pods. Guys, wherever you're getting your podcast, do a search for us. We're out there. We got plenty of great content for you. You can even reach us via email, guys. You can email us at feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Again, that is feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Guys, and we're kicking things off on a somber note tonight, unfortunately. You know, the recent tragedy in Georgia has definitely made the headlines this week. And so what has happened is there was a school shooting at Apalachee High School. The gunman is a 14-year-old student. Apalachee High School is roughly 45 miles northeast of Atlanta, Georgia. 9 people were injured in the shooting. The victims have not been identified. It is said that the teen will be charged with murder and tried as an adult.
Yeah,
right?
I saw that in the press conference today.
Yeah, so none of the news outlets have released, again, the gunman's name. The conditions of most of the 9 people wounded were not immediately known. There were reports of some students being taken to hospitals for panic-related attacks related to the shooting. The daughter of one of the victims, golf coach David Fennick, said her father's hip was shattered after he was struck in the foot and hip. This is according to a Facebook post. It says he was in stable condition after surgery. A spokesperson for the North Georgia Medical Center said eight patients were taken to 3 hospitals in its system, including 3 for gunshot wounds. 5 people had a panic attack. The superintendent of Burrough County School District, which Apalachee High School belongs to, said schools will remain closed for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Right. You know, as the school goes to cooperate with, you know, federal authorities and local authorities. I believe the article goes on to quote that the student who had gunned down 4 people, as soon as a school resource officer had engaged him, the 14-year-old had quickly realized that if he did not give up, it would end with an OIS, or what is referred to as an officer-involved shooting.
Yeah.
Okay, so at least the gunman is going to stand trial for this. He didn't take his own life or bitch out in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, actually, I was listening to a lady today that was being interviewed. I think she used to be former working for the federal government, where she said that the suspect's actions of not becoming an OIS is actually very unprecedented for someone just to give up, because normal time it happens exactly what you talk about, Tim. It's either, you know, it's basically a shootout, or they end up shooting themselves. So
yeah,
you know, but yeah.
So as it's been reported, you know, 2 students and 2 teachers were killed in the shooting. The 14-year-old gunman is, I would imagine, is still being questioned by law enforcement, sitting in jail. It says that law enforcement had received anonymous tips online about threats to commit a school shooting. The high school also received a phone call the morning of warning that there would be shootings at 5 schools and that Appalachia would be the first of 5 shootings at 5 different schools. The school shooting is at least the 45th school shooting in 2024.
Yeah. And I know the person I was hearing, the former officer who had explained, and she was a federal officer.
Mm-hmm.
And when you had said that, they mentioned that about there being a phone call, and she says, we can't take any of those lightly. She says a good portion of them might become,
right,
false calls, and also, but she says you have to take every single one of them seriously because, as another officer that was actually being interviewed on the news had said, the fact that this school, this Apalachee school, actually had a protocol for such an incident, and what people might say is like these kids are just kind of used to seeing this, where so not just at this particular area, but just everywhere that they have to come up. I mean, Tim, I remember when it was just like we had to sit next to our lockers and just cover our heads during a tornado. And now these kids are sitting there like, we're not preparing for a fire alarm. We're preparing for a possible, school shooter. I mean, this is an amazing world.
Yeah, shutting the doors, locking them. There have been discussions of arming teachers.
Yes.
Throughout of that. What's an interesting statistic about all this is parts of the South and Mid-Atlantic have had higher rates of school shootings. And this is since 2008. So, I mean, you're looking at Arkansas, Tennessee, North Carolina, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Then you get over to Maryland, Delaware, and nope, that would be it as the states that have had the most. And so again, that is Arkansas has at least 13 school shootings since 2008, and that's been going back since they started recording it. Louisiana had at least 32 since 2008. Mississippi's also had 13. Alabama's had 25.
Gosh, that's...
Tennessee has had 33. North Carolina, 43.
School shootings?
Total school shootings since 2008. That's 0.41 school shootings per 100,000 population.
See, and that's just too much. Some of the questions I have about this shooting that happened down in Georgia today is, number one, is I would like to understand, what has been going on in regards to the investigation with the suspect's parents, to figure that out. And if I stand correct, verify this with me. Verify this, Tim. They said the suspect, they finally released a suspect named Cole Gray. Have you seen?
Well, I saw something on X about.
I remember there being, I think the sheriff's department had released during their press conference where I think they finally released that name.
So I'm looking that up to see if he's been the one. I saw something on X about somebody who was a male student, but it wasn't.
I'm sorry. So sorry about that. UnWoke Nation. The name board that was released by, I think, one of the sheriffs during the press conference. His name is Colt Gray, and the 14-year-old suspect.
Colt?
Yeah, that was released as of 4:36 p.m.
Okay.
Eastern time.
So now so they've had released it. So he is. So we will go to this.
Obviously, there's no pictures. Obviously, being a minor,
right? So according to WSB TV, Channel 2 Atlanta, Smith says that Gray, According to Barrow County Sheriff, Judge Smith says the school resource officer engaged Gray shortly after shots were fired. It says, again, Gray had gotten on the ground and he surrendered. He realized that if he didn't give up, he would be shot. Mm-hmm. It's not...
I'm assuming where there hasn't been, and it probably might take a couple of days for us to figure out a motive after the interrogation. And
yeah, so there isn't anything specific other than the name, and that's a great catch right there. But yeah, there hasn't been anything more. There hasn't been anything additional that has been released about the shooter other than clearly his name at this point. But I mean, this just gets to the heart of what we have talked in the past about school shootings, right? The Tennessee shooting, for example, that was motivated by a trans person in a Christian school setting. That I believe that manifesto had finally come out and felt like he was alone, felt like nobody was listening.
Right.
Then we talk about, what was it, that shooting in Louisville where the teen had gone into the bank.
Yes. Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, according to CNN, as of September 4th, the 248th day of the year, there have been 45 school shootings in the United States in 2024. And so, since I believe they started tracking this in 2008, we've gone from 18 in 2008. There was a drop right around between 2010 and 2012, where it was either 13 or 15. Then it spiked to 52, in 2019. Then it jumped significantly in 2021 to 73. 22 had 79. And 2023, last year, 82.
I mean, that's and you start asking these questions where, so again, kind of going back to what I was saying with the parents, like, how much do the parents know?
Right.
We think about the case in regards to the kid actually who is serving jail time, but his parents are also serving jail time as well.
Yeah, the kid up in Michigan they bought him the pistol for his birthday.
And also the evidence of the text messages and all those different things as well.
And they ignored his pleas for help. According to the article, it says no known connection between suspected shooter and victims. It sounds like this guy was just going in and, like a mass casualties scenario. They have said they think he used an AR style rifle. Mm-hmm. What's a 14-year-old doing with an AR style
to
rifle?
Have that type of access, that's
I mean, I get it's Georgia and I get it's the the South, right?
There are still places out there who look at guns as being a tool, but yeah, to have a 14-year-old kid who obviously sounds like he's got a very sick issue going on, so. And something else I want to give a little bit of credit to as well. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of really scared kids. I've heard a couple testimonies of kids who were involved in the incident and also. But, just give some credit out from the UnWoke Show to some of those kids who were actually helping one of the teachers, I think, that was wounded.
Right.
We can't, here on the show, we cannot say if that person has actually lost their life and also. But from what I understand, where there were some there were some students that were actually trying to help one of the teachers that was actually shot.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was amazing to hear that.
So, yeah, it looks like 2 teachers were killed and 2 students were killed. That is confirmed. A student of the golf coach, he had a shattered hip, which we just reported just a few minutes ago. He's fine. But unfortunately, this tragedy, again, taking the life of kids, taking the life of adults,
You've changed lives forever.
Yeah. This school, will always be a statistic now, right? It's that never thought it could happen to us type of thing.
Sugarland, Sandy Hook.
Right. You're
That's
now in that unfortunate group,
mhm.
right? Something you never want to be a part of.
Yeah.
Again, it says officials are not aware of any connection between the suspected shooter and the victims. Right now, they're saying they're going to try him as an adult at 14. Once the attorneys get involved.
So let me ask you this, Tim. Because the sheriff did say that.
Yeah.
Well, the authority did say that that they will be planning on the war. Matter of fact, he stated it twice in the press conference. So I guess the question you ask yourself, Tim, is that if they're going to try him as an adult, and obviously this is the state of Georgia,
right?
And also, does a prosecution go for the death penalty? And I know that's very early to say, no, but when we hear somebody saying you're going to be trying a minor for, as an adult, it's kind of one of the first things that comes to your mind.
So you have to think that, does this kid have any priors?
Yeah. Anything written on social media?
Well,
something,
Has he been in trouble with the law before?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if anything like that comes out. Right.
Yeah, and I'm sure those it's going to take a couple of days, especially if they're going to be shutting the school down for the crime scene or so for the entire week and doing that now. And that's the thing. I mean, these kids just got back in school 3 weeks ago.
I know, this is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Colt and being 14. Let's say he does not have any criminal history.
Yeah.
As a judge, you're going to factor in no criminal history.
Yeah.
Right. I would think the attorneys would try to lobby that, even though he committed this crime, he's still by law a minor.
Right.
So would they try to move out of being tried as adult, tried as a minor, but stiffer penalties or something? Yeah, I mean, once the attorneys get involved and the legal negotiating starts taking place, the fact that he's alive means that from a psychological perspective, anybody in the psychological community is going to want to talk to this guy, right?
Yeah.
So now he's going to be a potential martyr, right?
I kind of wonder this, Tim. I wonder, and you bring up a good point where it's like, the question of is are they still going to try try him as an adult? And also another factor, and I would like to know, it's like, I mean, if let's just say they don't, and they end up saying, okay, we're going to basically keep him in juvie or whatever it is, that's something like that for basically 4 years, wait till he actually hits of adult age, and then maybe they retrial him or something like that. And by the way, guys, it was like, we have any attorneys out there, any criminal attorneys on Woke Nation, also please write us and let us know from your experience on what you think cases like this would turn out. And also we'd love to hear from a lot of our people who are attorneys out there as well. So
to your point, you had mentioned just a few minutes ago, if attorneys would try to seek the death penalty.
Yeah.
Okay. So the death penalty is not allowed for juveniles in the United States, as the Supreme Court ruled in 2005 that it is unconstitutional. The ruling in Roper versus Simmons cited the Eighth Amendment's protection against cruel and unusual punishment. The death penalty for juveniles was first used in the United States in 1642.
Wow.
Before the 1972 Furman versus Georgia ruling, which put a moratorium on the death penalty nationwide, there were about 342 executions of juveniles.
I mean, you said
1642.
1642. Okay, so you realize that's only what 200 years after the United States.
Yeah.
So 1492. Yeah, 200 years exactly. I think.
Yeah, exactly. So, international human rights law also prohibits the death penalty for people under 18. Many countries that the United States criticizes for human rights abuses have abolished the practice of executing juveniles. I don't see Georgia executing a juvenile. I mean, it seems like death row appeals, right, take years.
Yeah.
Right. So it could be appeal, delay, appeal. I mean, let's
you
say
think that's a possibility?
Let's say they put him on death row. Do you wait till he turns
4 years? Yep.
4 years? Or do you let the entire appeals process? And I'm trying to find that statistic.
I kind of wonder where it's like, will the defense sit there and try to plead some type of insanity, and therefore might get him a lower sentence or something?
Well, we got to find out.
That's also, like you said previously, about psychological.
Psychological. So any mental health related stuff, right? So, I mean, the appeals could take years. I mean, this guy could be, this kid could go from 14 to what, 30?
Yeah.
40? Whatever that appeals process looks like. But
he's off the street. But
yeah, I mean, he is off the street. I don't know that any state wants to be associated with, the tying the death penalty to a minor. I mean, I would imagine the litmus test for was this premeditated? How does this, is this full on murder one, death pen, or are they gonna give this guy or this kid life with no parole? I mean,
obviously right now, because it's a very broad of what's is. So I guess you could say, first degree as of right now. No, but I think after all the research and stuff like that,
right.
Like you said, the psychological part, what stuff, we know, has he had any issues or different things like that? Obviously, we're just speculating,
right.
So we're going very, so on what little we do know about the law, we've seen of past cases and all, but I mean, it looks like that. And also, but then again, I mean, we won't know for a couple of days and all, so it just looks like first degree right now. But I mean, but yeah, it's really, really kind of hard to tell.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's 12 to 24 months, right? As it works through before we could potentially be doing any sort of real follow-up to see what has happened. But, again, this is grabbing national headlines.
Right.
Right. Because it's a 14-year-old has committed this.
Right.
You would imagine as part of the process, they're going to be asking the parents, how did he get access to a rifle, or is it a parents, we bought it for him? No, we say if we taught him type. Yeah. Right. It's all those factors are going to come in, and you throw in the Michigan verdict and the parents. Right.
Right.
And so at that point, are the parents going to be somehow involved, because now that precedent has put out there? So it's going to be very interesting to keep track of the story. We'll definitely stay on top of it and provide updates as they come across the news wire, guy. But we're going to leave it right there on Woke Nation. Guys, it's a pleasure as always talking to you. Again, you can reach us at feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Again, that is feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Guys, and as always, stay unwoke.
Thoughts and prayers for all the families out there. We'll see you next time.